Hello, everyone. This is Maietta with ResearchTalk, and we're joined today by my friends and colleagues, Jeff Petruzzelli, our qualitative research specialist, and Sarah Tracy, who is one of our qualitative scholars. She's teaching for us again this year at our 22nd Qualitative Research Summer Intensive. This year, the course she's teaching is titled Writing for Impact, Strategies to Successfully Craft and Publish Qualitative Research. That course is offered Wednesday and Thursday, and that's July 30th and 31st of 2025. So you can go to researchtalk.com and click on the tab for QRSI to get more information and to register. And today we just wanted to kind of think through lots of aspects that don't come through in a description, or for those of you who have already read Sarah's work, there's kind of little pearls of wisdom that don't always come through on those methods. So we just want to talk a little bit more. And one of the things that we were thinking about, Sarah, if you could let people know, if they take the course, what do they get? What's their takeaway?
It's going to be a 2-day boot camp, so to speak, of writing and all things writing for impact. But it's going to be a caring boot camp. So we're going to practice with writing. We're also going to be talking through all the different aspects of how to succeed in your writing, whether that is a dissertation or a journal article or a policy report. The bread and butter of qualitative writing, there's going to be a lot of worksheets and activities and reading recommendations and so on. So if you come to this course, you are going to leave with actionable items that you can put into your writing immediately, and you're also going to leave with resources that can sustain you after the workshop.
Oh, great. Yeah, that continued practice. So it's funny, as you were talking, I was thinking one of the things that people always fear and people talk to us about is when they're writing is that time where they have a block of time, it's free and no one's bothering them, and then they sit down at the keyboard and they're frozen. So it seems like you're going to help people kind of deal with that situation and maybe have it even not exist.
Correct. Yeah, there's nothing better to get the writing juices flowing than actually moving the fingers, and you will be doing this in this course.
Great. And real quick, when you say for impact, what is for impact?
You're writing so it creates a difference in the audience or stakeholders that you are interested in influencing. And for some folks, this is going to be, their students. For others, there's going to be fellow colleagues. For others, it's going to be folks who are reading a certain journal article. But what will move them to first read your work and then act on it?
Right. So direct impact for the individuals as that person picks up and consumes what you put forward on paper. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And then when we think more about takeaways, what are examples? You've given some of practical takeaways, and you could even go, like give us kind of concrete stuff, but even sometimes it helps to imagine the person at their desk, his or her desk, and what might their writing practice look different, things of that sort.
One key thing is learning how to be interesting to your key stakeholders or key readers of your writing. And interestingly enough, there is a formula for being interesting, and it has to do with hooking into your readers' assumptions, but also surprising them. And unfortunately, most people, when they think about writing, are mostly thinking about what they want to say. And of course, that is important. But it is just important to be thinking about who is going to be consuming and reflecting on this material. And we're going to start with thinking of our audience first, or as Ray, you've said before, the space that you're driving into.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thanks for that reference. Yeah, it's one of our favorite things. And it's interesting because people don't really think that. I love the way you said that people think about what do I have to say? And it's overwhelming because even if it's a book, and some people do articles, some people do books, you do have more real estate, but it's amazing how it's not as much as we think. So this notion of starting at putting yourself in the seat of the other and almost kind of visualizing the way what you're doing helps move those folks. That's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Another is overcoming writer's block and avoiding common mishaps or mistakes. And so
Uh,
we're going to be going through some of those common mishaps and mistakes and how to avoid those potholes.
oh, wow. It sounds really relatable to folks. I'll think a lot. Yeah, like it reminds me when we teach people about coding, we talk to them about avoiding the analytic black hole, those folks who code and then they're like, I don't know what to do now. So,
Another key thing that I've been having conversations with really recently with other qualitative researchers that I am going to incorporate into the course this summer that I have not in the past is the ethical and effective use of AI in writing and how we might be able to use AI in part as a writing partner. Now, that's not going to be the focus of the course, but for folks who are interested in that question and have been starting to play around with ChatGPT and other AI, we're going to touch on that as well.
wow. And do you have little tidbit on what that looks like as people start to use AI as an assistant or a partner to your writing?
Yeah, well, the way that AI can be used ethically and effectively is akin to how we would work with a mentor or a research partner to bounce ideas off of, or to say, could you do a read through this? Does it make sense? Where we get into problems with AI, both ethically and also because it's just not effective, is trying to generate our writing from the ground up. And so we'll talk through a couple of those prompts that do work well in helping our writing.
Oh, that's great. I love the ethically and effectively. I love the two E's there work well together. Are there any other, certainly if there's anything else on the practical side, let us know. But anything else where you think about kind of having, this isn't the first time we've taught the course, and having done it before and kind of seeing people on the other side, anything else that people let you know that was a takeaway for them or something that they benefited another way after they finished up your learning from you?
Sure. Well, one of the most difficult things in writing is receiving criticism on our writing. And this gets to the fact that writing is not just a skill, like a rational skill. It is also an emotional endeavor. And so when we get criticism, it is hard not to take that criticism personally. And in this course, we talk through how to respond to criticism and reviews of our work without tearing our hair out, with being able to take it in stride and how to get ourselves back on track and realize that most reviews and most criticism, not all, it is meant to improve our writing. And when we can reframe it that way and change criticism into friendly lists of acknowledgments and tasks, a to-do list, it makes that review process a lot easier. And folks who have been working with me in the past have said that they feel so validated to realize they're not alone in feeling beat down sometimes with that review process, and that the recommendations that we provide that can help them be successful in their writing.
It's such a bridge, Sarah, from receiving feedback, reading the feedback, to go to this practical to-do list. It's a beautiful way to bridge from there with and kind of just do it as, okay, now there are things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just add too, this is a great course for you if you feel stalled. If you have a project that you started and then, got feedback that felt like it was unmanageable, this might provide that jump start to get that project back out and making an impact in the world.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to return just to what you said there in just a minute. But the other thing I just wanted to say, listening to you, and Jeff, I don't know if you're noticing this too, you can tell not just that you're experienced writing, but you have so much experience working others, and you have such a holistic vision of the writer in the process. Oh, it's really powerful. And I think one of the reasons why year after year and course after course you offer for us, where people are so pleased that they went through the experience. We have another thought we were wondering, and you talked about projects that were stalled. Is there anything else you can think about, like why someone might take this class? Sometimes we have people who don't know when in their trajectory on a project, especially graduate students who haven't done a project before. Do people benefit if they take the project only when they're ready to write or when the project begins? So first, a general comment on why should someone take the class, and then I'd be curious to hear your expert thoughts on when is a good time to take a course from you on writing.
Sure. Well, I think, just one reason why this course is I have spent years making sure that any of the courses that I teach are jam-packed with a variety of resources. You are definitely going to have your money's worth when you take a course with me, because I'm going to give you a lot of resources, and you are also going to leave with some practical takeaways that you have accomplished in the time that we are together. So that's one thing. But in terms of why this course and who is it for, writing is a craft practice, like many qualitative analysis techniques and so on. But writing, like art, for instance, it's not a course that you just take once and then you're done. I encourage people to take writing courses and analysis courses and any craft practice course over and over again, because what is going to make sense to newbies, and there will be material in here that makes sense even if you're brand new to qualitative research, and there's going to be things that you take away here, no matter if you do mixed methods research, whether you're just starting to dabble in qualitative but you mostly do quantitative, you're going to get writing help no matter where you are in that space. But you are going to learn things like, oh, I need to be thinking about my audience. What do they find interesting? That's important at the beginning of a project. For those of the folks who are in just the midst of putting together a dissertation prospectus or a grant application, we're going to get ideas about how to create compelling rationales. And for those who are thick of it, like done with the analysis, you're going to get important information about how to format that data. We're going to be speaking about how different visuals, for instance, are appropriate depending on the audience. And then, as I said, for those who have, finished their research, but perhaps have not gotten it out to the audiences they want yet, this is going to give you some ammunition to get there.
Right. Wonderful. And we always wonder when you think about Sarah Tracy is teaching the course, and you and I have learned a lot in teaching, right? We teach the course, but yet there's more we learn every time we teach it. But if you think about your own work, are there examples of a project or something, the practices you're putting forth, like kind of, can you give us evidence of here's where it worked really powerfully for me? Maybe a project outcome, a particular quotation, or something about how you may have reorganized an article. So just kind of a story of you applying the kinds of hard-learned lessons that you're sharing in a course.
Sure. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the review process. And I think to myself as an early scholar, and the review process, I think, has become kinder over the last 25 years, but it still can be difficult. But I remember my first reviews and what I heard in those reviews as a condescending tone and me feeling defeated when I read those, after I had done the best work that I could and work that I thought was good. And the dread that I had of returning over and over to a review letter, or had that emotional pull to it. And it was through that process that I realized I could bounce back and write a whole lot better if, I read the reviews. Maybe I, had my emotional like outburst of how stupid they were and crumpled them up and threw them away. But then I would crawl back to them and realize if I put this into a to-do list
Yeah.
and put at the top of it, Sarah, they think you can do this. They asked you to revise it. I could go back to that and I could start taking little bites out of, okay, yeah, I can do that today. I can do this. I can do this.
It really changes the tone and temperature of the document you received and your interaction action with it. Yeah. So Jeff is really becoming known as the closer for these conversations. And he's one of the best listeners I've ever met. So Jeff, as you're listening to the exchange and things like that, what's on your mind before we close up our conversation today?
Well, I actually had a list of topics that I was thinking about, and Sarah covered all of them. But one thing I did want to mention was looking through the course description. There's the word caring that's in there that really struck me. Provide a caring and useful environment. And we see a lot of people in our work that are doing fantastic projects where they've collected rich data, powerful data, and they have a lot to say about it. But then when it comes to time to write, you've talked a little bit about this already, but when it comes time to write or start thinking, getting their ideas down, it's all of a sudden they seem to lose confidence, and they're these great researchers, but they just it's almost like I don't know if I want to say panic, but they almost get to this point where writing becomes such a chore. And they have this great data, but translating it onto the page, is really problematic. And I love the idea of the caring environment that you mentioned. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I am a big believer that suffering comes when we are attached to outcome. And in this workshop, we're going to give people space to write without being attached to a certain outcome. And when we can do that, then all of a sudden it becomes playful and curious and inventive. And so we're going to do that. And I think in terms of the caring, it goes back to caring about your audience, caring enough about their time and their interests that you actually think about them in terms of how you frame your writing. And then also being caring to yourself in terms of providing a structure for yourself and realistic goals and so on, so that you can do something like academic qualitative writing, which is a very difficult skill. And in order to do it well and in order to get enjoyment and create a writing life, you've got to be caring to yourself along the way.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Anything to close? Anything that was kind of running in your mind that you didn't get a chance to say?
I'll just say that one of my biggest joys in my career is engaging these workshops. And so I can't wait for our time together. And I also would just say that ResearchTalk is the creme de la creme of places to get your research workshops. And I just want to thank you, Ray and Jeff, for creating the structure and the community that you've done through the summer intensive and your other resources.
Yeah, it really is a powerful community. It's great. And I love Sarah, when I think about our conversation today, it doesn't surprise me you're a qualitative inquiry, not just expert, but that it's what you do for your life, because you're so aware of scene, so aware of movement. I think about kind of scripts and things of that sort. You have all of the characters that need to go into the act of writing. And writing feels like such a solo activity. But clearly, from the way you've presented things, it's not, it shouldn't be, and it doesn't have to be. And I think that's another, as I listen to you today, I think that's one of the most powerful kind of benefits that people get that may not be explicit is when they walk out, they also don't have to ever think again that it's just this lonely solo activity. You're not alone. And when you start thinking, like you said, about the people interested in your work and how they'll receive it, right there, you know you're not alone, and the back and forth. And even the way of receiving comment from reviewers when you told your story of, oh, wait, they're interested in you. And forward, it's just fabulous. So again, that holistic picture. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate it. And again, Sarah's course is July 30th and 31st. And that's a Wednesday and a Thursday. If you go to researchtalk.com and the QRSI tab, you can read about that. In addition, we'll have a slide with that information at the end of our conversation, and also information on Sarah's new edition of her book. If you will, let you give that title, Sarah.
Qualitative Research Methods. It's very easy to find on Amazon and elsewhere. So I hope you'll take a look, and that book will be helpful to you if you take this class. It'll be a friend for you, but it's not required. You don't need to get that book in order to get something out of this class.
We'll have that set up for everybody watching, for your ability to find that easily. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.